All right, so let's jump into Merck's latest earnings call.
Yeah.
We're talking about one of the biggest players in pharmaceuticals.
Huge global reach.
Yeah. And they always give us a lot to unpack.
They had a very interesting quarter this time around.
Seems like they're really trying to walk a tightrope right now.
There's this balancing act going on.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you have these established, super successful drugs like Keytruda driving a ton of growth.
Right.
But then on the other hand, they're working really hard to diversify their products.
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago that we saw them really heavily reliant on just a few key products.
Yeah.
And now it seems like they're, playing the long game here.
Definitely seems that way.
Setting themselves up for success in the future.
Yeah.
But let's start with what everyone's talking about, the headline numbers.
Okay. So overall, Merck put up some solid numbers.
Okay.
Their human health business segment grew by a respectable 8%.
Not bad.
And then their animal health division had a really impressive 13% growth.
Wow. Yeah, 13% is huge.
That's being driven by that continued demand for Keytruda.
Right.
And some positive results from some of their newer products like WinRivAir.
Yeah, WinRivAir, we'll have to dig into that one a little bit later.
Definitely.
But that's impressive, especially when we're looking at how kind of volatile the market has been.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what about Gardasil? I remember seeing some headlines about that one.
Yeah, Gardasil definitely ran into some challenges this quarter.
Okay.
Overall, sales were down 18%.
Oh, wow.
And that's entirely due to lower demand in China.
Interesting.
Outside of China, though, demand is actually still really strong.
Okay. So what's going on in China? Did something happen to the vaccine there?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It seems like it really comes down to what's been happening with the economy over there.
Okay.
There's a real squeeze on consumer spending.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's impacting the whole vaccine market, not just Gardasil.
Right.
Yeah.
So essentially there's just more Gardasil available than people are willing to buy right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting situation.
Yeah. So how's Merck dealing with that? With that oversupply?
So they made the decision to temporarily pause shipments to China.
Okay. Interesting.
The idea is to let the inventory levels kind of balance out.
Right.
Give their Chinese partner Zhifei some time to manage their finances.
Okay.
So it's like a short-term adjustment, but they're really thinking long-term here.
Yeah, it seems like they're kind of willing to take a hit now to make sure things run smoothly in the future.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's get back to those growth drivers you were talking about earlier.
Okay.
Keytruda, their big cancer treatment. Still going strong, right?
Oh, yeah. Keytruda had a fantastic quarter.
Okay.
Sales jumped up 21% to hit $7.8 billion.
Wow.
That's huge.
That's massive.
And it's all thanks to the constant demand for its role in treating metastatic cancer.
Yeah.
And we're seeing more and more doctors using it for earlier stage cancers, too.
Gotcha. So were there any specific wins for Keytruda that they highlighted during the call?
Yeah. They specifically mentioned the success they're seeing with Keytruda in combination therapies.
Okay.
For instance, using it alongside Padcev to treat urothelial cancer.
Right.
And with chemotherapy for endometrial cancer.
Okay.
Those combinations are showing a lot of promise based on some recent clinical trials.
Sounds like Keytruda is really becoming an essential part of a lot of cancer treatment protocols.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. And it's not just in the U.S. either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're seeing really significant growth internationally,
Wow.
largely driven by more doctors using Keytruda for earlier stage cancers around the world.
Okay, so Keytruda really is a global force.
Definitely a force to be reckoned with.
All right, so we've talked about Keytruda. Let's move on to one of their newer products, WinRivAir.
Okay.
That was a pretty key launch for them not too long ago, right?
It was, and it's actually doing really well.
Okay.
It's a treatment for pulmonary arterial hypertension, or PAH.
Right.
And this quarter, they brought in $200 million in sales.
Wow. Not bad at all.
Mostly in the U.S. market. Yeah, it's off to a very strong start.
So what makes WinRivAir stand out in the world of PAH treatments?
Well, one of the things that really impressed me is its accessibility.
Okay.
Merck said that 80% of patients who are prescribed WinRivAir actually receive the commercial product.
Wow, that's a pretty high number.
Yeah, it is. It shows that they have a very strong network to make sure the medication is getting to the people who need it.
That's so important.
Yeah, it's not just about writing a prescription.
Right.
It's about making sure patients can actually get the treatment.
Exactly. Did they mention anything about data from clinical trials?
They did, and it's very encouraging.
Okay.
The Zenith trial showed that WinRivAir significantly reduced the risk of severe complications or even death in high-risk PAH patients.
Ah.
And actually, they ended up stopping the trial early because it was just so effective.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. They must be feeling really confident about WinRivAir's potential.
They definitely have reason to be.
Yeah.
There's another trial called Hyperion.
Right?
That one was also stopped early. And that's because they were seeing similar benefits in other WinRivAir trials.
Gotcha.
So both of these trials really point to WinRivAir becoming a major player in treating PAH.
Okay, so we've got Keytruda, this huge success story, and WinRivAir, this up-and-comer that's making a name for itself.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about what's in the pipeline. Are they just betting on these two, or is there something else brewing?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Merck actually has this really robust pipeline
Okay.
with over 20 potential new drugs in development.
Wow, 20.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And most of them have the potential to be blockbusters.
Okay, so it seems like they're really diversifying.
Yeah, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
That's smart. So any highlights from that pipeline that we should be watching?
Well, they're getting ready to launch a new vaccine in the U.S. called Capvaxive.
Okay.
It's a pneumococcal vaccine for adults. And then later this year, we should be getting the results of phase 3 trials for their oral PCSK9 inhibitor program.
Oral PCSK9 inhibitor. What's that all about?
So right now, PCSK9 inhibitors are only available as injections.
Okay.
And they're a really important tool for lowering cholesterol.
Yeah.
But imagine if you could take a pill instead.
Yeah, that would be a lot easier for a lot of people.
Exactly. So an oral version of this drug could be a total game changer for managing high cholesterol and preventing heart disease.
That's pretty huge.
Yeah, it could make treatment so much more convenient and accessible.
Okay. So they're tackling existing diseases and they're working on ways to prevent them altogether.
Exactly. That's the goal.
But what about the long game?
Yeah.
I mean, Keytruda's patent won't last forever, right?
Right.
How are they preparing for that?
That's a good question, and investors are definitely thinking about it. Yeah.
Okay.
They know that Keytruda's exclusivity expires in 2028.
Right.
But they're confident that they can handle it. They say they'll be able to navigate that transition because of their strong pipeline and all these new products they're launching.
So they're essentially saying, we got this, even without Keytruda being the main event.
That's the message they're trying to send. And while they haven't given any specific long-term financial guidance,
Right.
their actions and investments are speaking pretty loudly.
Yeah. They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly. And it's not just about developing things in-house either.
Okay.
They're actively looking for opportunities outside the company, too.
Oh, really? To, like, bolster their portfolio?
Yeah, to make it even stronger.
Oh, okay.
For example, they recently licensed a new cancer treatment from a company called Lenova,
Okay.
and they acquired a promising drug candidate from Hansoh for treating cardiometabolic diseases.
So they're really scanning the horizon for anything that could be a good fit.
Exactly. It's a very proactive approach.
It's impressive.
Mm.
They're not sitting around waiting for something to happen.
No, they're out there making things happen.
Shaping the future of healthcare. Okay, so we've talked about their strong performance.
Mm-hmm.
We've dug into their pipeline.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that really caught my attention.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
That Gardasil situation in China.
Right.
The economic slowdown. It
Yeah.
might be more complicated than it seems.
It might be. And that brings us to our This Is Not Financial Advices segment.
All right, this is my favorite part.
Yeah.
Where we get to be a little bit more speculative.
Put on our contrarian hat.
Exactly. But before we go any further, let's remind everyone that this is all hypothetical.
Absolutely.
This is purely for entertainment.
so fun.
Don't go making any investment decisions based on what we say here.
Do your own research.
Always consult with a financial advisor if you need to.
Yep.
So with that out of the way, let's imagine,
Okay.
what if Merck is a little bit off about how quickly the Chinese economy is going to recover?
Interesting. What if they're being a bit too optimistic?
Exactly.
Okay.
And if that's the case, maybe there's an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Maybe.
A chance for someone to make a very risky, but potentially very rewarding move.
I like where this is going.
Okay. So what if someone were to consider
Yeah.
taking a short position?
Whoa, hold on. Shorting. That's pretty aggressive.
It is. But hear me out. We'll unpack this bold idea in part 2 of our deep dive.
We could short companies that depend heavily on people spending money in China.
Whoa. Okay, so you're saying we bet against those companies? That means we think they're going to do badly.
Right.
Right. But how does that tie back to Merck?
think about it. Merck decided to stop sending Gardasil to China for now because they believe the Chinese economy is going to improve soon.
Right.
They think people will start spending more money and that'll help these companies. But what if Merck is wrong?
Okay, I'm starting to see your point. If the Chinese economy doesn't bounce back as quickly as they expect, those companies could be in trouble.
Exactly.
And then anyone who shorted them would make a profit.
Right. It's a risky move, but the payoff could be huge if Merck misread the situation.
Risky is right. Okay, I'm starting to get the logic here. But you also said there were some reasons why this might not work.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell me what makes you think Merck might be misjudging things.
Well, first of all, predicting the economy is really hard.
Yeah, especially in a place like China.
Exactly.
Right.
It's super complex.
Right.
No one has a crystal ball. Even the experts get it wrong sometimes.
True. Those economic indicators can be all over the place.
Exactly. And the second thing is Merck might be a little bit too optimistic about how fast things will turn around.
Okay.
I mean, they really want Gardasil to do well in China.
Right. It's a huge market for them.
Exactly. So it's possible they're downplaying the risks to make investors feel better.
So basically, they're putting on a brave face, even though they might have some doubts.
It's definitely something to consider. And then finally, there's always the chance of something unexpected happening.
Like what?
A new COVID variant, maybe.
Yeah.
Or some kind of geopolitical crisis.
Right. Those could throw everything off track.
Exactly. Even the best laid plans can go wrong.
Okay. So there's a lot of uncertainty to deal with. I get it. But let's say we did take this short position. How would we know if it's working?
That's where the real work comes in.
Okay.
We need to keep a close eye on what's happening in China.
You mean like those big economic reports?
Yes, but also things like consumer confidence surveys and the actual sales figures for the companies we've shorted.
Right.
And of course, any updates from Merck about how Gardasil is doing.
So we're basically looking for any signs that things aren't going as well as Merck expects.
Exactly. And if we start seeing those signs in those companies, stock prices start dropping.
That's when things get really interesting.
That's when the potential profits start looking good.
I gotta admit, this trade idea is pretty clever.
Thanks.
It takes what we learned from Merck and turns it into something completely different.
That's what I love about the market. There are always opportunities if you know where to look.
But once again, this is all hypothetical.
Of course.
This is not financial advice.
Definitely.
Do your own research, talk to a professional before you make any investment decisions.
Absolutely.
But this just goes to show how one earnings call can spark so many ideas
It's true.
and lead to some pretty unexpected possibilities.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Exactly. Speaking of connections, let's bring it back to Merck
Okay.
and try to sum up everything we've learned today.
Sounds good. Let's connect the dots for everyone listening.
First of all, it's clear that Merck isn't just relying on Keytruda anymore.
Right. They're branching out.
They're working on treatments for all kinds of things: cancer, heart disease, vaccines.
They're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Mm.
And the Gardasil situation in China shows that they're willing to adapt.
Yeah,
They're thinking long term.
absolutely.
And they're not afraid to make tough choices to make sure things work out in the future.
It's a bold move.
It really is. And don't forget about their partnerships and acquisitions.
Right.
They're always looking for new ways to grow their portfolio.
They're not just keeping up with the changes in healthcare. They're leading the way.
We've covered a lot today,
Yeah.
from Merck's financial performance to the new products, and even a crazy trade idea.
It's been a good deep dive.
It has. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you think our listeners should be thinking about? Anything they should explore on their own?
Well, we talked a lot about Merck's blockbuster drugs and their impressive pipeline.
Right.
But the real story is the science behind it all.
Okay.
If you really want to understand what Merck is all about, don't just focus on the products.
Okay.
Look into the research, the clinical trials, the breakthroughs that are making all of this possible.
That's a great point.
That's how you get a deeper understanding of the company.
Understand the science and you'll understand Merck.
Exactly.
Great advice. All right, that's it for our Merck deep dive. And until next time, keep learning and exploring.
And of course,
As always,
this is not financial advice.
never was, never will be.
Always do your research.
Absolutely.
Talk to a professional if you need to.
Yeah. The market, it's unpredictable.
Oh, it definitely is.
What looks good today could change tomorrow.
That's what keeps things interesting.
It really does. That's why we love doing these deep dives.
Me too.
It's not about telling you what to do.
Right.
It's about looking at things from different angles,
Asking questions.
challenging those assumptions.
And understanding that there's always going to be some uncertainty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe that crazy trade idea we talked about,
Yeah.
even though it's hypothetical,
Right.
maybe it'll give someone an idea
Spark something.
Help them come up with their own strategy.
It could happen.
That's the power of thinking for yourself,
Absolutely.
making informed decisions.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, everyone. That's it for our Merck Deep Dive.
Till next time.
Happy investing.